Hi everyone, Summer here with AstariaSen. It has been a minute since I have got on and done a video. Just life is going on. That's usually the way that it goes, right? I've had a migraine for a couple of days, so if I seem a little that's why. It kind of depletes all of my energy when I get really severe migraines, and it can make it difficult to pick words out of my brain. There we go. But I did watch a couple of videos. One of them was from Casper the Boy Diviner, and he was talking about his top 5 aggressive decks. And I thought, do I even own any aggressive decks? Like, you're talking to somebody who does a lot of fairy stuff and mainly works in a more positive way. I can't get my camera to look just right, can I? It doesn't want to. It says no. Sorry, guys. But I don't own a lot of aggressive decks. I really don't. They're not all super positive, but a lot of them aren't overly aggressive either. And I picked out 3. I guess they would be my only 3 really aggressive decks. I'm pretty sure that I might have more, but in the move, I think I misplaced a box of tarot cards, which has really been frustrating me. So I picked from what I could find, and what I already had put away. So I'll start out with the first one, which most people will pretty much know that it does have a lot of darker undertones, and the readings for me are aggressive. But I picked Deviant Moon as my first one. Oh, and I'll leave Casper's video link down in the description so you can go check out his original video about his top 5 aggressive decks and why he chose them. And basically, I know that these decks could be like totally into shadow work and stuff like that, but when I was watching his video and thinking about it, I was also thinking about when you read for other people, the aggression that can come out in the decks, or the real talk, as I want to call it, because you're not beating around a bush. You're not, you're creating a very hard response, like a conflicting response when you look at the cards. And I think that that's important when we're talking about aggressive decks, because how decks read are for individuals as well as for yourself can be a make it or break it kind of situation, right? Like if you want a love reading, you might not pick a very aggressive deck. If you want shadow work reading, you might not pick something overly aggressive, but you don't want something super positive either. You might want something that's a little softer, but will still give you a reality check, right? Or you might want an aggressive deck because you're dealing with some stuff and you just, stupid flies, I swear the flies is here. You just want somebody to tell you, boom, right up front, like, this is the problem, this is the issue, boom, right? So I picked ones that the decks I picked are aggressive based off imagery for me and how they read. So the first one's Deviant Moon. That's the backs of the cards. I only picked out 4 cards to show you because they're the 4 cards that spoke aggressively to me, but the whole deck in general is aggressive towards me, or not necessarily towards me, but as I read them. So the first one is the 3 of Pentacles. Now, under normal circumstances in most decks, I wouldn't see the 3 of Pentacles very aggressive. But in this one, I do. Look at all of them. Each one is helping create the other one. And yeah, wow, that's like this really positive response to the 3 of Pentacles, right? The whole working together and everything else. But I mean, really consider this for just a moment. Consider your effect on other people and how working with somebody else can create them, and they create the next person. And it's like this line of things that can happen based off what you're creating together, right? So it's an idea that how you interact with other people, how you show other people how to do something or something like that, can make or break them just as easily. And that's pretty aggressive. That's a pretty aggressive 3 of Pentacles, in my opinion. And the next one is the Hermit. Most of the time the Hermit is like this card that's really like kind of I don't know, kind of serene, because you're going off and looking into yourself. But this is like that darker aspect of looking into yourself, right? Look at how not happy this person is that they're looking within, and how hard it is for them to do it. They're really struggling with their inside turmoil, with looking inside themselves and how they see things. And you even have this little creepy dude down here, And there's just a lot that goes on in this card that you don't see in most hermits. Most hermits is like this internal peace, this internal light that you're looking for, you know, whereas this one's not as peaceful at all. It's like an up in your face, this is going to be hard and you know it kind of situation. The next one is the Five of Cups. And so you've got these filled cups down here, right? And then you got the two that are behind this guy. This guy's got his ears closed to what somebody else is saying. So this is a very aggressive way of thinking about the Five of Cups for me. You know, no, I'm not listening to you. It kind of seems childlike, but how often do people actually do that? They refuse to listen to something that they should be listening to, and it's based off their own views of how they see the world. Like this look on his face isn't even a mean kind of I'm not listening to you. It's more of a teasing I'm not listening to you. But when you're doing that to yourself, it's very harmful to yourself, you know? And the last one, which is this is really hard card for me. I'm not even sure why, but it's only in this deck. I don't have this hard of a time with it in a lot of other decks, but this deck was hard for me. Death. This is the Death card in the Deviant Moon Tarot, and it just creates this very fearful response in me about, you know, this thing that's just trying to go back up where it needs to go, and then and that one's stepping on it saying, no, you can't do that. You know? So there's a very, I don't know, a very hard response for me. I don't even know how to explain it, honestly. It's just kind of, it's one of those cards in this deck that just really bothers me. It creates a response in me that you can't go back to where you've been. You have to move forward, right? But it's telling you in such a aggressive way, you know, stepping on your head saying, no. Cruel, mean. All right, and the next one is probably not one most people would see as necessarily aggressive, but I personally do. And that is the Tarot of the She. And the Tarot of the She is by Emily Carding. I've done her book and everything else. This is the back of the cards. These are shiny cards. I don't use these very often. I don't connect super well with them, but I picked out 5 cards to show you from the deck. Now the first one is Maker 5. Now she changed all of hers, Makers and Dancer and everything else. They all represent different things. But I want you to actually just look at the picture, because the picture is what creates this visceral response, this hard response for me. And it's about winter's bite. It's about things turning to winter, right? Can you look at that? How sad is that? Like you're just watching all of this stuff fade away off of you, and it's so sad. This card just makes me sad. And I can't even explain why, but it feels so empty, and like she's reaching out for something she can't have, that she can't see yet, or she can't get to yet. And she's just got to stick it out until the spring comes. And that's hard for me. I mean, that's very conflicting and aggressive in my world. The next one is the Nightmare card, Dreamer 9. Look at that. And I have really bad nightmares, so I think this is why it gives me that really visceral response. But look at how, I mean, like she scratched her own face, the hands coming out of her mouth. Look at all of these things like coming up to her, like she's, I don't know, just, it's this idea that you're kind of creating your own nightmare, right? Like you're creating that yourself, and you're causing yourself way more harm than you need to, kind of situation. And that's the card just gets to me a little bit. The next one is Dreamer 10, and it's Desolation. And it's the reds in it, the red tones, and like the bleeding, and look at all of that, you know, down here, like they're just drowning in all of this. And you know, the trees are cracked, and the scary eyes behind you. It's a very aggressive card. This is aggressive. And then this one right here, Escaping Stagnation, like you wouldn't think it's an aggressive card. It's like, it's supposed to be an escape card, but it kind of feels aggressive to me, because look at down here. Like, so here's the whole picture, right? It should be positive for me. Like in general, it should be like, oh yeah, I see the light. I'm going to be able to follow this light and move from this graying into color and stuff like that. But look at these people down here that are just stuck. That just, it gets to me, because how many times have you been stuck somewhere? How many times have you been stuck in some kind of rut or stagnation that's really caused your world to dim because of it. And so that's a very aggressive card for me. And the last one in this deck is Web of Mirrors. Now, I don't like spiders, so that's one of the reasons, right? But it's called Dreamer 8. And look at that. It's like looking at yourself, taking a real look at yourself and having to see yourself through all of these different mirrors. And that's super, super aggressive, especially self-aggression. You know what I mean? Like how down on yourself you can get and how you see yourself rather than how other people see you. Yeah, that's a very conflict related card for me. Okay, and then the last deck I chose is the Lewis Royo, the Dark Royo deck. Dark Tarot, Royo Dark Tarot, sorry. This is the backs of the cards, so you can tell this is not going to be a light, happy deck, right? So the cards that I chose in this one aren't as, I don't know, they don't create the same visceral response as the other two decks in me, but they are aggressive cards for me. So the first one's the Hermit. And I have already picked out the Hermit in one of the other cards, but look how different this Hermit is. And I'm going to tell you the aggressive part in just a minute, but look at this. Like, she's really looking within, right? But it's this looking within via the water, the pool of water, right? But look at this guy that's dead right there. Did she kill him? Did she not kill him? Like, what caused that death? And is she looking at that death as in her own mortality? Or is she looking at it as something she has done and has to deal with, you know? So that's this idea of this card that kind of comes into conflict with me. The next card is the Eight of Swords. And look at that chain around the neck, the Eight of Swords, you know, and just in the face and stuff like that. And you could tell there's some battles that's already been dealt with, but you still got some more to do, and you're all chained up, and it's just a hard card. It's a very in-your-face card for me. The next one is the Ten of Swords. Now, I usually see tens as an ending to something, right? Well, in this Ten of Swords, battle has ended. She chopped off his head. Like, you cannot get more confrontational than chopping off somebody's head. And look at her. She's just like, yep, I had to do this. And now you have to deal with those consequences because you're gone. You're dead. You shouldn't have messed with me. That's just how this is going to work. And then the last two I have in here aren't like overly aggressive, but like strength kind of is. So I chose strength, and it's for several reasons. Like, look at this guy. He is a monster, right? And he's up against her. She's taken a bite out of him already as a vampire, and he's kind of just letting her, but at the same time, he's not fighting back, not really. And she is holding herself back too. So this is a different kind of strength card than this lion versus lamb versus, you know, girl image that you get. And this is much more aggressive, way more aggressive. I mean, she's even pulling his hair back. Like, I can stab you to death and you can't stop me. I'm the only person who can stop me. I'm the only person who can change this. And I have control. And it's really interesting for a strength card. And then the last one is Seven of Chalices, which chalices are cups. And it looks like a sweet card when you're kind of looking at it. You know, the white is like an innocence and stuff like that. But look how much red is splotched in that white. Like, there's blood everywhere. There's chains everywhere. And then there's the skull on top of her head. So it gives you a very, you got to take the bad and the good together kind of thing, and how beautiful even the bad can be, but it's very in your face as well. So those are my 3 decks that I chose for my top aggressive decks, and why I chose them, of course. So again, I will leave a link down in the description if you want to see Casper's video, The Boy Diviner, and I'd love to know what your guys' aggressive decks are, and what you think of mine. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a very great day.